face on my register.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. It's Tuesday night. It's another night of exciting speeches. I would like to introduce our president, Mr. Will Burns.
Yo! Thank you, Rhonda. And welcome again, golden speakers and guests and viewers at home, for another exciting edition here of the Speaking Times, where we embrace our destinies, empower ourselves, and really imbibe the strong drink that is Toastmasters.
Yeah!
Here, here.
We know what he's been doing.
We're all here
We'll say
in
Patty's,
a
huh?
mutually supportive, positive learning environment to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. First off, I'll start by addressing any guests. I'm looking around and I think I see one in the back there. Can you say, are you a Toastmaster yourself or a guest?
First time that I've ever set foot in here.
Yeah! Well, would you mind just staying for a minute? Tell us your name and then what brought you here today?
Chevy.
My name is Ria, and I'm here because I'm terrified of speaking, and I would like to face that fear and see if I can manage to speak.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah! Welcome, Ria. Yeah, I think we all had that fear at first, and it's gotten a little bit better since then. So, with that, I'll introduce our glorious Toastmaster, Birch now.
Glorious.
Thank you, Will. Welcome, everyone. Toastmasters, our special guests. I will help you face your fear tonight. And viewers at home. Last week we had the glorious, since we're talking about glory tonight, our glorious contest, inspirational speaking contest. And one of our table topics was, what could I take to Mars? And guess what I did through the blogosphere internet today? It's the news about the Mars Society. Did anybody else see this? Well, I was kind of pardon me?
They heard from us that we're coming.
The Mars Society is a group of Earth people, if you will, and one of their projects is the Mars Desert Research Station that's in sort of remote Utah, and they have teams of people go live at a colony for a week or 2 weeks at a time, and currently there's a group there from Peru. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to have noticed. You might want to check it out because there's actually people who are preparing for the trip to Mars and what it's going to take to live there, and they're practicing, and they've got a base out in Utah. How cool was that? I thought it was really cool. Our theme tonight is spring. Welcome, come on in. Our theme tonight is spring is nature's way of saying, let's party. Let's quote from Robin Williams. For our viewers at home and our special guests here tonight, Toastmasters begins every meeting with kind of I think one of the most interesting impromptu speech mini competitions that we have, and it's called Table Topics. And with that, I'd like to introduce our...
What about your role players?
Oh, role players. I have to introduce our role players. Let me introduce our role players. A little rusty here tonight. Our first role player is our timer, Steve Harper. You want to explain what your role is?
Yes. Timer, tonight my role will be to time the speeches and indicate what the time is during the speeches by turning on lights at various points. For table topic speeches, these are 1 to 2 minute speeches, and the green light is turned on after 1 minute. Yellow light comes on after 1 minute and 30 seconds, and the red light is turned on at 2 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. Prepared speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes, so the green light comes on at 5 minutes, yellow light at 6 minutes, and the red light at 7 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. And then for evaluations, which are 3 minutes, the green light comes on at 2 minutes, yellow light at 2 minutes 30 seconds, and the red light is turned on at 3 minutes.
Thank you, Steve. Next, I'd like to introduce our off-counter, Stephanie Chambers. Explain your role.
Thank you. As our counter, I'll be watching for little things so that we can all become more aware of them and not do them anymore. Things like, like, you know, so, that's my worst. But, and tongue clicking, pausing, which is great, and repeats and false starts. And I'll report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next, I'd like to introduce our grammarian, John Loris.
Yo!
Good evening. As grammarian, I will be listening for really interesting uses of the English language that people have and use, or in Slobodan's case would be Macedonian. If you have good use or bad use, and then I'm going to give a report. And now we're going to talk about the word of the day, is emanate. I tried to find a spring-like word. So to spring from or originate from a source or produced by. A sweet heavenly scent emanated from the white blossoms. Ah, this must be jasmine. So let's see how many people can use that word or derivation of that word in their speeches.
Yo!
Thank you, John. Next, I'd like to introduce our general evaluator, Dan Craig. I'll introduce him a little bit later. I'll now open up. And our ballot counter tonight is Tom Trainer. All right, now it's time for tabletop.
All right.
Yeah!
Welcome, Slobodan.
Stephanie, this is the pause. I don't do that very often, so I had to take advantage.
I like it.
I also emanated from my seat when I heard about the Toastmasters. Thank you. Good evening, fellow members, viewers at home, and especially guests. Maria, tonight, Ria, sorry. Ria, tonight your dream will come true.
Oh, wow.
Because I mean, especially the guests, I have a very special secret about the guests. I have been a guest here in this club for about 20-some years before I joined the club. And I was always secretly hoping somebody will ask me to talk in the table topics. They never did. But that won't happen tonight. And tonight we have a special. I have a neighbor who is just publishing a book on Einstein. So I thought, let's talk about the time and space continuum.
Yes.
Right? And don't worry about it, because Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. So I don't want any formulas here, right? So the time and space continuum, to find yourself, you need two things, right? One is the time. What is the other one?
Imagination.
Good. Imagination about the space, right? So I have a special tonight. If you give me one, I'll give you the other one for free.
Whoa.
So who wants to be the first one, besides our guest? You want to try?
Sure.
See somebody else speak first.
Okay. We'll try again.
Yeah.
Okay, now who wants to try, and do you have some more guests?
Yeah. There we go.
No, Casey's not a guest, Casey's a speaker tonight.
Yeah, he wants to go.
He wants to go.
Oh, he's a speaker.
Oh,
He's already speaking.
I'll go ahead and go.
First start with the people that don't have a role,
Yeah, Will's gonna go.
and then after that.
Who doesn't have a role?
Take the punch here.
You're the president.
You know,
Please come with you.
Okay.
So, we don't have numbers tonight because in the time-space continuum, we don't care about numbers.
Okay.
We have this continuum. So if you give me the time, oh, no, I'll give you the time. I'll give you both. Because you're the president.
Oh, nice guy.
Okay.
Give it to me.
How about yesterday
Okay.
as the time? And south as the space.
That's what?
South.
South.
Like south from here,
Okay.
southwardly. So enjoy the time-space flight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go!
All right, Will.
I'm going to go back, not to yesterday, but to the yesterday before yesterday. Talk about and talk about an experience that I had that was very interesting and informative to me, and I hope I can kind of share some of that with you. I attended a St. Patrick's Day party, and it's always been interesting because this was a rabidly Irish St. Patrick's Day party. It was actually one of the chamber parties, and they always throw a good party. It got me thinking that, you know, I have a certain amount of Irish identity, but I'm Scots-Irish. So for me, the South is a fairly, in bygone eras, in generations past, was a fairly hostile place that held a lot of danger for my kin. Actually, my ancestors were nominally brought to Ireland because they thought that these somewhat rambunctious, they basically, the British Crown, for lack of a better word, took the most difficult of its children, the Scots, and pushed them onto the Irish, who were effectively the black sheep of the family, and were totally uncontrollable. With the thought that maybe the influence of one of the stricter ones would be able to tame the other. And long story short, hasn't done that well, and there's still troubles to this day. But those troubles are slowly being reformed. And so for me, that experience to come in there, you know, and to see how this conflict over time has kind of smoothed into this expression of us here in the States, where we're all just one people with different experiences.
Thank you. That was great, Will. That's why he's the president. Who wants to become a president? The next president.
That's another topic.
That's another topic. We'll still stay with the time-space continuum.
Exactly.
The guest?
No.
Not yet.
Are you,
I need to see what's going on, how you do things.
Well, I mean, one thing that I really like this impromptu speaking is it has a safety net.
2 minutes.
You don't know, what you're talking about. You don't know, what's the topic, but you also didn't have time to prepare it. So you always have an excuse.
That's true.
So, anybody else? Stephanie.
Stephanie.
How many do we have time for?
Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie. So, the time is tomorrow, and the space is north. Thank you very much. Tomorrow and north.
Hello, Toastmasters, honoured guest, and viewers at home. I've been thinking a lot about directions lately because today I was trying to book flights. So I was actually booking a flight to Australia, which is south-west. And I also started thinking about maybe going to some other parts of the US on the way. So tomorrow, hopefully, all goes well, I'm going to book a leg of the journey from Chicago to Portland, and then to LA, and then back from LA to Chicago. It's a long story, but I'm going to Australia from LA. So you have to get all these directions and things worked out, because I've realized that if I can kind of make these circular little loops, I only have to make one booking rather than booking 3 flights, which takes forever, I've realized. So, even though it's not very profound, that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow in terms of direction, my direction in life. So I suppose it's exciting in that way, and that I haven't been back to Australia for a couple of years, and it'll be really nice to see my family. But we're also hoping to find ways to combine it into some sort of business trip so I can claim it as a business expense. So if anyone has any ideas of things that I could do in Portland, Chicago, LA, and Australia, let me know. I've got a few ideas, but it never hurts to have a few more. For example, I'm planning to have a friend of mine who's an editor to look at the book I'm starting to write, which some of you probably know about. So that's my plan for claiming the part of the journey to Melbourne where she lives. And I have some web programmers who are in Cairns, so I'm going to claim that part. But Coffs Harbour, as you know, Diana, I can't really think of anything to claim there for Coffs Harbour. So if you have any ideas,
Yeah,
let me know.
I'll think about that.
So that's the sort of directions I'm thinking. Thank you.
By the way, for you guys that don't know, and I'm assuming everybody knows, but just repeat, Stephanie is the master of the 30 seconds. Before the speech, everybody has 30 seconds to compose themselves and find out what they're going to talk about. I never use those 30 seconds. Sometimes I make the pause, but never use the time. Stephanie is my champion. So, anybody else? I got 2.
Tom.
Wow,
Oh,
people are
yay.
emanating. Okay.
No.
Hi,
There
Tom.
he is,
Nope.
Mr. Tom.
Welcome to the Time Space Continuum.
Okay,
It's future, and it's here.
here, future.
Correct. Thank you.
Here.
Okay. Mr. Tabletop Mix Master, fellow Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests. Here, the future. Well, that's really easy, because there is no yesterday, tomorrow, or today. There's one consciousness. There was a famous author by the name of, forget now, but he wrote a great book, and he made the whole thesis of his whole book, there's only one of us. Us, one. One consciousness, one reality, and most of us, some of us don't know that, but most of us know we're beyond space-time. The real us, the real who we really are, is beyond space-time. When you're beyond space-time, you don't worry about yesterday. Because worrying about yesterday is what drives people crazy, called guilt. And when they're worried about tomorrow, they're worried about the future, drives people crazy, right? You know who you are. People in this town, some of them tend to meditate a few hours a day. They kind of get to know who they are. They're the one that's everything. Then they have to realize what that really means, and they do. Some of the people here get that they're beyond space-time. Once you're beyond space-time, it's just ripples on the pond. You're the pond, but you're still the ripple. You know yourself as the ripple. You know yourself as the pond. Future comes, yesterday goes. It's all one. It's all us. It's all me. It's all you. Mr. Tabletop Mix Master.
Thank you, Tom. Wow, from here he went to our time and space continuum. How far can we go? Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, 8:10. You've got time for 2 more, probably. Steven wants to.
How about Steve? I think he wants to emanate his knowledge here.
Oh, who's going to count 12 times?
Someone to take over the space-time continuum.
All right, the Mr. Time continuum.
Step out of it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I know there is no past. Let's just imagine for the sake of this thing, there is past. There's the time. In the space, it's far away. So you have the past, and you have something that's far away, or just away.
That's a good one.
Thank you. When Albert Einstein proposed his general theory of relativity, he concluded and subsequently proved that space and time are relative, not absolute, and that space and time are different in different places. The farther away you are from Earth, the faster time goes. Gravity slows down time and it curves space. This is pretty phenomenal. The Earth is actually traveling in a straight line around the sun in curved space.
Wow.
There are places in the universe, big places, lots of places, that Einstein theorized might exist, but nobody ever thought they'd find them. They're called, who knows what they're called? Yes, black holes. And there's one at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Black holes are so dense that everything that comes into its periphery falls into it and nothing can escape it. Gravity essentially curves space so much that nothing can get outside of that curvature. And here's what's even more amazing. Time stops. It literally comes to a standstill. If a person were at the edge of a black hole, their life would slow down so much that before they could take their next breath, they would witness the entire evolution of the universe. Billions of years, suns coming into existence, exploding over hundreds of millions of years, and reforming, and having a second evolution, such as our sun is in its second formation. This is an amazing universe, and we don't know the half of it. It's a cool place to be alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have great travel. So, Mr. Toastmaster.
No. Vote.
Yeah.
For the best speaker.
Can we take 2 minutes?
Hot, no.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Timer, did everybody qualify, including yourself?
Yes.
Everybody qualify. Can you please read the names of the people who are participating?
Will, do I do the report now?
No, just
just
the
say the
names so
first
people can
name.
vote.
Okay. Will, Stephanie, Tom, and myself.
And Steve. Okay, please take 2 minutes to vote for the best table topics. The next, I'm calling Scott Terry, our table topics evaluator.
I will emanate myself.
His eminence.
I'm evidence. What can you do? Couple themes I'd like to focus on tonight for just a minute. One is gesturing. It's really important when we're gesturing to have, first of all, we have the little box, right? So try and escape the box if we can. Here, anywhere outside the box. But the other thing that I want everyone to sort of look at for a moment is how are you using your gestures? Are you using them purposefully? So Stephen was a good example of using gestures purposefully. The curvature of space-time. And he went outside the box and he used the whole thing. Tom started to do that, but he was also doing a little bit of rambling. So it's important when we're using gesturing to use them appropriately, purposefully. It's the same thing when we're looking around. When we're trying, especially with tabletops, we're thinking about, and so we're looking like this, and then we're looking like this, and so when you're looking, again, Tom's point, how do you say that again? One
One thought,
thought,
one person,
one time. One thought, one person, one time. One thought, one person, one time. Okay? So look at that kind of concept while we're doing that. I know we're trying to come up with something when you're table topicing. Tom came up with some great ideas, but it's sort of like profound ramble, and I'm waiting at the end after all this profound ramble, Tom, now tell me something. And it's hard. It's hard to have a beginning, middle, and end when you're doing something. I know I only have another moment to talk for a second, so I'll just keep it quick. Will look at your gesturing, be more purposeful. You start to do some of it with like your hands, conflict, but then you're doing a lot of, have a stronger conclusion. Even if you don't know what you're going to start with, come up with a stronger conclusion. Stephanie, same kind of thing. Have a stronger conclusion, have more, it's hard to have meaning to a profound trip, and you're sort of gesturing. But some of your gestures were like rambling, and some were really nice. Again, just try and pull that together. Tom, we talked about, again, some of your gesturing, sort of the ramble, as you're thinking about things, you think about it with your hands, and some then comes to the other bigger point. And Stephen, wonderful use of gestures. Stephen, also though, I want you to look at the focusing, because you start doing a little of this, and you're going into these big profound thoughts, and then you're like looking for those thoughts out here instead of in your own head. And we're all staying with you, but because you're moving, you're forcing us to be moving around, and there's so much for you to say. Again, what would be nice is to have the moment. We're on timing?
No, he's not timing you.
Oh.
You're
Okay.
about done.
I'm done. I figured. That's why I was like waiting for the light to come on. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Call it the Toastmasters.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay.
Now it's time for the prepared speeches portion of our meeting. And I'd like to introduce our first person who's going to evaluate and also introduce the speaker, and that's Rhonda Whitaker.
Yo!
Thank you, Bert. Hello, Toastmasters, viewers at home, and honored guest, Priya. Our first speech for Casey Toth, which is a Hungarian name, and I think the TH is kind of silent when you say it correctly. Is that true?
It actually rhymes with moth.
Toth. Okay. Casey Toth will be doing his first speech. It's called The Icebreaker. Casey's been in Fairfield since 2012, August, and he's taking the Vedic Science Master's Program. Please help me welcome Casey Toth.
Master Toastmaster, guests, friends at home. My talk today is called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And the main reason for that is I grew up an Air Force brat. Well, first of all, my goal tonight is to give you a little bit of facts behind me so you kind of know where I'm coming from. Maybe make a little fun of myself in the process. And maybe even give some kind of lesson, at least a lesson for me, and maybe you guys can take something from it also. So, like I said, I'm an Air Force brat. I lived in 11 places before I was 17. I was born in South Carolina, Sumter, South Carolina. But I only lived there 6 months, so it's kind of hard to call that home. I was born on July 3rd. My parents, my dad's Hungarian, obviously. My mother is Irish, which is kind of evident also. But like I said, I was born on July 3rd, and I would have been a July 4th baby, except supposedly, as the story goes, the doctor was going fishing on the 4th. So I don't know if that meant, because this was a while back, so I don't know, I wasn't a C-section baby, so I don't know if he like punched my mom in the stomach or something. It would actually explain a lot, though. So I was just going to go over a couple of the places that I lived. Like I said, I started in South Carolina. I lived there 6 months. We went to Milwaukee, Okinawa, Spain, Louisiana, Spain, Wisconsin. I lived in California for 6 months. Then we moved to Loring Air Force Base in Maine. And the funny thing about Maine is it was the Air Force Base we were on. I don't know if anyone's heard of Dr. Strangelove, but that's where that movie came from. And so that's just a little bit of trivia about someplace I've lived. From Limestone, we went from Ohio and then to Louisiana. In Louisiana, I went to the same junior high as Terry Bradshaw.
Wow.
And I don't know if there's football fans out there, but my football coach in junior high said that he could throw a football on a string for 70 yards. And he still has the javelin throw record for the state of Louisiana.
Wow.
So from Louisiana, I moved to Maine, and back to Maryland, which is actually where I came from. Along the way, I went to 7 grade schools, 2 junior highs, 3 high schools, and 5 colleges. And now 6, actually. So at some point, my life became about change. It was constantly changing. I was always moving. We were always, some places we only lived 6 months, some place a year. And I found that over time, because as you notice, I went to 6 colleges. Well, by that time it was kind of on me. It wasn't my dad moving around, it was my choice. And I've come to realize since I've been here that that was kind of, it became kind of an addiction. It became, I just got used to moving around so much that even though I've been living in Maryland, I've chosen different colleges, I've chosen jobs where I did a lot of traveling. And some part of me, whenever I'm going on a trip, for some reason I clean everything up, I straighten my life out, and I kind of get this feeling that somehow my life is going to change. That something about just the action of moving somewhere or going to another place of work or going to a college. And so finally, when I came to Fairfield, which I came to Fairfield for various reasons. One was health. One was, I don't know if you guys know it, at MUM, they have great organic food, you know, the TM program twice daily. It's just a great place overall. But recently, I've kind of figured out that wherever you go, there you are. And my problems, my issues that I've had anywhere that I am have started to emanate here in Fairfield. And so I guess my lesson to all of you guys here, the lesson that I figured out is, once again, wherever you go, there you are. And sometimes I feel like there's so much of me here now that I'm kind of like, have you guys ever seen like the cars in the movies when they're underwater and the car's filling up and you're kind of going like that? That's kind of how I'm starting to feel with the crap that I'm going through. So, in summation, what I've figured out, at least for myself, is that it's never not a good time to work on oneself. You don't have to go somewhere else before you start working on your issues or problems. And so, in conclusion, Master Toastmaster, people at home, I just want to say, my name is Casey Toss, and here I am.
Thank you, Casey, and of course this represents the first in a series of speeches that we'll hear from Casey as part of the Competent Communicator manual, and certainly there's 10 prepared speeches, and the first one is the icebreaker. We're going to take 2 minutes to evaluate our speaker. You have forms on your, everybody put their pens down?
Yeah.
Next, I would like to introduce Cindy Traynor. She will read the objectives and introduce our next speaker, Ryan Olson.
Go!
Brian Olson is also a new member, and he is also doing his icebreaker tonight. The title of his talk is Transformational States. Brian's objectives with his speech is to begin speaking before an audience, to discover speaking skills that he already has, and skills that need some attention. And Brian, is your time 4 to 6 minutes?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. To introduce Brian, as he writes, I am pleased to introduce you to Ryan Olson. Ryan is a native of the Midwest, although he is a relative newcomer to Fairfield, having arrived here in 2005. Ryan holds a master's degree in Vedic science and is the father of a son who was born 11 years ago today. Happy birthday, son of Ryan. Ryan is a professional poker player and is the founder and past owner of a videography business. Ryan is passionate about life and has joined Toastmasters to gain the skills he feels he needs to clearly communicate his ideas. Please join me in warmly welcoming Ryan to the lectern.
Mr. Toastmaster, honored guests, fellow speakers, and our 3 viewers at home. I'm Ryan Olson, and I'm going to tell you a little about where I came from, what I'm up to now, and where I'm hoping to go. For me, it all started in a little Midwestern town that's known for how terribly, terribly cold it is. You may have even seen a Coen Brothers film about this place. I was born in Fargo, North Dakota. A fun little story that my grandfather told me when I was very young. He pulled me aside and he said, Ryan, you may not know this, but in Fargo, some winters it gets so cold that when people go outside to say hello to each other, all you see is this. Because what happens is, when it's 40 below zero, the second your words come out of your mouth, they freeze and fall to the ground. So, for years, every spring at the first thaw, I would run outside and listen, but no words ever emanated from the ground. I always figured, well, I must have missed it by that much. I probably was the last person in the Midwest to study in a one-room schoolhouse. We had no running water, had to use an outhouse, and I was the only kid in my grade. But this didn't slow me down. As a teenager, my family moved to Wisconsin, and we started a stable and riding ranch where we gave trail rides. My sister would complain day in and day out, this is such hard work. But for me, I was just horsing around. In high school, after acquiring my new deep voice, I landed the role of the Wizard of Oz. I am the great and powerful Oz. Who dares to question me? Of course, it's more impressive with a microphone. So, after graduating valedictorian, I was accepted to the Honors Aerospace Engineering program at the University of Minnesota. What I found out after a few years of taking 4 semesters of calculus and physics and chemistry was that aerospace engineering is really boring. So I lost my zeal for life, wasn't sure what to do, so I packed up my things and moved to the state of confusion. And I was there quite a while. One thing you may not know about the state of confusion is that it's very easy to get there. But the longer you stay, the harder it is to leave. Finally, I did a lot of things there. I started a family and began my own business. But it was gnawing at me that I had to get out. So I finally figured out what to do. I bought a one-way, non-refundable ticket to the state of delusion. And I was there for quite a long time as well. Some of my friends can attest to that. But with the help of my friends and family, I escaped from the state of delusion and ended up here in Fairfield with a bunch of nuts. But now I'm in a state of bliss with all of you. My current passions are singing with the choral choir of Southeast Iowa with Elaine Redding, and working on financial independence, and heading towards infinite longevity. You may not know this, but someone who's actually sitting in this room may live to be over 1,000 years old, thanks to the constant logarithmic growth of medical science. I hope I'm there to do the eulogy at their funeral. So, I'd like to close with some great advice that I got from my Native American elder. He said to me, "Ryan, past not important. Came from Fargo, no big deal. The secret, I will tell you the secret. passed down from many generations. Have fun, live with passion, join Toastmasters, and you will go, far go.
I've been to Fargo. You go to Frostbite Falls, and then you go ahead, go turn left and go to Fargo. Let's take 2 minutes and evaluate Ryan. All right, next up, we'd like to introduce our next evaluator, which is Jean Symington Craig, who will read the objectives and introduce Diane Denbaugh.
Diane is going to be cycling through the Competent Communicator Manual for the 3rd time. She has professional reasons for taking up some of these projects, and of course she's going to be giving credit to the club, building credit that way. She is a relationship success coach and loves teaching communication skills to her clients. Just want to toot Diane's horn a little bit, because for this current Toastmaster year, Diane contributed and completed an Advanced Communicator Bronze, a Competent Leader before that, so those 2 are in the leadership track, and then the Advanced Communicator Silver, which is awesome. And I'd just like to give her a hand. She's now working on her concepts and what she wants to do for her Advanced Communicator Gold, which will then complete her speaking track, and then she'll have her Advanced Leader Silver to do, and that will complete her leadership track, and then she'll be a Distinguished Toastmaster. So Diane is really making excellent progress, and while she's deciding on her Advanced Communicator Gold project, she's also working on a Competent Communicator. She is going to be doing tonight project number 2 in that manual. It's called Organize Your Speech. The objectives are to select an appropriate outline which allows listeners to easily follow and understand her speech. She is to make her message clear with supporting material directly contributing to that message, to use appropriate transitions when moving from one idea to another, and to create a strong opening and conclusion. The title of her speech is Did I Say Something Wrong and How to Make It Right? Emanate a solution is what you're sounding like saying. Aside from the objectives in the manual, Diane is, because she is very professional and this is her 3rd time through, is looking to develop the skill of being more conversational in her speaking. And that's a specific goal she's working on. So please help me warmly welcome Diane.
Have you ever said something to someone and they took it the wrong way? And then you've got these bad feelings between you? If you have, raise your hand so I can get an idea. Good evening, Toastmasters, our guests, and viewers at home. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about a communication tip that I use to help people avoid miscommunication. I call this tip intention versus impact. What I mean by intention is what message, what are you trying to get across to another person? And by impact, I mean how has the listener received that message? What are they making that message mean? So you have the intention and the impact. If the intention matches the impact, you've got good communication. You've got a really good feeling. Good feelings are emanating from each person. Here's an example of that. Now, every example I use, I want to set something up right from the start. I'm going to be complimenting Louis, my husband. A lot of you know him, some of you don't. So that'll happen in each scene, or each example that I use. I say to Louis, Louis, you have been working really hard and super focused all week long. Louis hears this reply, and he just says, wow, thanks, Diane. I appreciate that. That is intention and impact matching, and it's a good communication. Sometimes intention and impact breaks down. So what I want to show you now is how the speaker can correct that. I turn to Louis and I say, Louis, you've been working so hard and so focused this week. Louis turns to me and says, yeah, well, we've got deadlines, clients to call back, we have bills to pay. There's a lot to do, Diane. And I'm in my world thinking, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets I intended to compliment him. Is he upset? What's he thinking? Now, I said I'm the speaker, so I'm going to take responsibility for that, and I'm going to check in with Louis. I simply ask him, or tell him, Louis, or share with him, Louis, I can tell him. When I said you work long hours and you're so focused, I hope you understand I intend to compliment you. I really appreciate all that you do for the business. His response is, oh, great, thank you. So now we're back to intention and impact matching, good feelings emanating between us, good communication. The last example now is the listener is going to take responsibility correcting the breakdown in intention and impact. Same scenario. Louis, dear husband, you have been working really hard all week and have been super focused. And this really happened once, actually. And Louis, in his world, was wondering, wow, does Diane feel neglected? You know, he's a hardworking man. Does she feel neglected? Is there a complaint here? Now, he's the listener, so he's going to check in to see what my intention is. So he asks, he said, Diane, when you say these long hours and I'm really focused, tell me what's up for you. What do you intend, what's your intention here? And then I take a minute and I tell him, my intention is to compliment you. I so appreciate how hard you work. You're an incredible asset to the business. And then he says, great, thanks. So again, we have another match. The intention matches the impact, great space, great feelings, a connection. So there you have it. Whether you are the speaker, whether you are the listener, you now have a communication tool that you can use when you sense bad feelings, or did I say something wrong? That there's a breakdown in intention and impact. And you can use this to clear up these miscommunications. Using this tool is very effective and very practical. But you know what's most important to me is it's very respectful. Use this tool and fill your life with good communication. Thank you, Mr. President.
Let's take 2 minutes and evaluate Diane. We'll now determine who qualified for Best Speaker tonight. Mr. Timer? Can you tell us who qualified?
All three speakers qualified.
Can you give us the names?
Casey Toth, Ryan Olson, and Diane Denbaugh.
Good. Let's take a minute to vote for Best Speaker. The next section of our meeting is the evaluation. And with that, I'd like to introduce our general evaluator, Dan Craig.
Yo!
Now it's the section of the meeting where we give some feedback to the speakers so that they know what they did well and what they may want to do in order to improve. We're going to hear from each of the evaluators, and first up is going to be Rhonda Whitaker to evaluate Casey Toth.
Yo!
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I thought Casey did an excellent job. Casey, you were very confident. You had good posture. Your expression was friendly. Many things that you did showed how many good qualities you have for speaking to begin with. For instance, you gave a joke and connected with the audience to engage the audience and bring them into your space. You came out front of the lectern and you stood there for a while to give us a chance to listen to your story about all the changes that went on in your life. You made your point in the intro, had a clear introduction. You told us what you were going to do. The body was a good example of your life and where you're at right now, and a conclusion that was clear and to the point, showing you as right here, right now, solid, not going anywhere. I enjoyed that part at the end the best, when you introduced yourself as, I'm Casey Toth, and I'm here. I would say that your tablet looked like it was a very good notepad. I think you have to think pretty fast to use that. I don't know how to use them. But I was impressed that you used your tablet instead of a wad of paper to look at your notes. And occasionally you checked your notes. I think you knew your information well and that you were prepared. I would like to suggest that when you speak, bring a glass of water to the lectern with you and allow yourself to pause without a filler word by taking a drink of water. In that time when you would have said, have it stop and have a sip of water. And take your time doing it so you can collect your thoughts. I thought you used good grammar, spoke clearly and audibly. And I feel like I did learn quite a bit about you from your speech tonight. Good job, Casey.
Thank you, Rhonda. Moving right along, we're going to hear now from Cindy Trainer. She'll evaluate Ryan.
Yo!
Our Toastmasters, honored and esteemed guests, but most especially Ryan. Transformational states. I learned a lot about different states today. Confusion, denial, being nuts. I liked your use of humor. Your use of humor sprinkled throughout your whole talk was what really warmed my heart. And your use of vocal variety. These are your strong points you already have. Also, your ideas that just kind of flow right from one short vignette story to the other, and how you linked them together. It was all appeared to me very seamless. What I could suggest, and this is, you have a lot of points, and a lot of ability that some speakers don't have at this stage in their first speech, but you have quite a few. And so I suggest this, is that when you come up again, that if you have 2 or 3 parts to your speech, you could give one part over here, talk from this section and include your audience and everything. And then when you move to the other part of your story, just maybe take 1 or 2 steps in this direction and give another part. So you could have talked about the words freezing and falling to the ground in Fargo, and then come just a few steps over here to another part when you start the other story part of your speech. And then when you're in the state of denial or confusion or whatever, you know, come maybe only a few steps, 1 step or so, continuing on in this direction. That way you can share yourself closely with all the audience members on this side, and then slowly transition across to this side of the room. And then everyone, I don't think anyone felt excluded from your talk tonight, but it would just be a little warmer communication with everyone in the room, and very easily done that way. And then that way, there is some movement on the stage, and it's purposeful, not kind of random or moving around. I didn't see any apparent thing that led me to believe that you were nervous. You looked very calm up here. How you felt inside, only you know. Here, you looked very calm. You spoke audibly and clearly. I liked your vocal variety and your imitation of the elder person that you mentioned near the end. You had a definite open body and conclusion, and your notes were sparingly used, practically not at all. You only glanced at your paper once or twice, which I thought was very good for a first speech. I only gave you that one suggestion for improvement. I really liked your speech, and I can't wait to hear more. Thank you, Ryan.
Yo!
And now, Jean Symington Craig to evaluate Diane's invite.
Yo!
Fellow Toastmasters and guests and viewers at home. Again, because Diane is a professional, I'm going to give her a little extra. And I just love listening to Diane. Every time Diane gets up to do a speech, I just sit there and start laughing before I'm supposed to, or I start just getting on the edge of my seat because I know it's coming. Love listening to Diane. Let me run through the points here. The speech value, I gave it very high marks. Everyone has been on that giving and receiving side of communication, so I think we all bought into it right away from the beginning. Preparation. Here's where I'm going to take a suggestion in terms of what you could do to make the speech more effective. I felt that some extra rehearsal to tighten the delivery. Sometimes I felt that Diane was kind of looking for the words up here, or where's the next thought? It's kind of coming, and I was going, it's going to come, it's going to land. Whereas if she had a little more rehearsal, she might be able to spend that time connecting with someone in the audience and delivering her point here, as opposed to a little bit of, that's the sense I got. And then also body. She seemed a little tentative to me sometimes in her movements. I'd like to see, and I know she's from New York, so I know she can, you know, put a little bit more in, a little bit, not quite so walking on eggs, shells. But that would just come with practice.
Yes.
Okay. Still conversational, but a little bit of practice like that. Organization, it was very clear. There was an intention, an impact. She told us what they were, and it gave us examples. To me, that was really good, with an opening and a conclusion. The opening, again, she asked that question. We all bought in. I thought that was a good way to get everybody started. The body flowed smoothly, I felt. The conclusion, she summarized the tool that she had given us, and she encouraged us to use it in our own situations. And I think we will use it, won't we, Dan? Now, we can check and see what was the impact. We can do a little role playing. Honey, did you feel?
When you say, won't we, Dan?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go, good students.
Yeah, see there. So I'm already ready to use it. It was good, very, very good. And I thought her transitions were appropriate and flowed. One other suggestion for Diane would be to use some vocal variety. She could use that to emphasize both Diane and Lewis over here. And also to change up the emotions, because when there was a match, everybody was emotionally on the same page, whereas when there was a mismatch, well, I'm sorry, what do you mean by that? Could be a little bit of that used. But love the humor surrounding the Diane-Lewis dynamic. Always like to hear about that. And then really the practical examples that illustrated what she was describing.
Thank you.
Now we need to vote for Best Evaluator, including Table Topics Evaluator. Stephen, did they all qualify?
Yes, they did.
And the names are?
Rhonda Whitaker, Cindy Trainer, and Jean Sarrington Craig.
And we didn't time Scott, is that right?
He was okay.
We did.
He was all right.
Time Scott.
Okay.
The collective we. Yeah, sorry. I'm using a different section on this.
All right,
So,
let's vote
Scott
for
Terry,
Best
yeah.
Evaluator.
1 through 4.
Now we're going to hear reports from our role players. We're going to begin with a report from our timer, Stephen Harper.
So, Will Burns was 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Stephanie was 2 minutes and 5 seconds. I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, Tom, you were 1 minute and 46 seconds. And I was 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Those are all the table topic speakers. On the speeches, Casey was 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Ryan Olson, 6 minutes and 26 seconds. Diane Denbaum, 6 minutes and 2 seconds. Scott was 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Rhonda, 2 minutes, 27 seconds. Cindy, 3 minutes, 24 seconds. And Jean, 3 minutes, 14 seconds.
Thank you. Now Stephanie Chambers, give us the counter report.
I'll go down one so and one very good bonus. Will, I noticed one you know and one false start. I used a lot of so's, which, as I said, is my problem. That was 5 of those, 1 but and 1 and. Tom was clean slate, Stephen was a clean slate. Scott used 1 and 1 so. Casey had a tendency to use a lot. And a few r's, ums, so's, ands. But I'm sure with practice that'll just drop away once you learn how to pause a bit more. Cindy had 2 false starts. Ryan also had sometimes used and r and so, but, and a few tongue clicks. It takes a while to get used to the fact that people count the tongue clicks, but they do. Or more lip smacks,
like
actually.
this.
There were more lip smacks than tongue clicks, actually. Okay, Jean, you had 1 and, Diane had 1 false start, Bert had a clean slate, Dan had a clean slate, and Rhonda had a clean slate. Very good.
Thank you. Now John, for the grammarian report.
Tonight, the use of the word emanate, we had Scott, Casey, Ryan, and Jean used it once, and a tie between Slobodan and Diane, they used it twice. So there were a lot of amazing phrase turns tonight, so many so that there were 10. So I think let's do a reverse top 10 like they do on the Letterman show. Gene said, "We'll do that, won't we, Dan?" Rhonda said, "Bring a glass of water to the lectern for pauses." I thought that was good. Cindy, "I learned lots of different states today. Confusion, delusion, and being nuts." Scott Terry, "One thought, one person, one time." I think I'll always remember that now.
It's Tom's.
Diane, use this and fill your life with good communication. That was good. Slobodan, I didn't realize you were a guest for 27 years. Tom, "We are ripples on a pond." That's very nice. Will, "One people, different experiences." Ryan, number 2, "Packed up my things and moved to the state of confusion." Never heard that one. And Casey, which with the numbered one of the night, was, "The doctor didn't punch my mom in the stomach, but it would have explained a lot." Thank you.
Jesus, do you have a joke for us tonight?
Jesus.
Come on.
Go!
I'm debating, I have like a couple of, but I start by saying that everybody is somebody else's weirdo.
Somebody else's weirdo?
Yes.
I resemble that remark.
4 people were riding in a train coach. A woman and her beautiful 19-year-old daughter were on one side, and facing them were an army general and his escort, an army private. The train entered a tunnel and the cabin becomes dark. A kiss is heard, followed by a slap. The mother thinks, "The young man stole a kiss from my daughter, and she rightfully slapped him." The daughter thinks, "The young man tried to kiss me and kissed my mother by mistake, and she slapped him." The general thinks, "The young man stole a kiss, and I got slapped by mistake." The private thinks, "I'm pretty smart. I kiss the back of my hand, and I get to hit the general."
That's good. Is that good?
That's it?
That's it. All right.
Okay.
Okay, for the wrap-up, I'm evaluating the evaluators. Starting with Scott, I thought the really strong part of your evaluation, Scott, was your demonstration of what you were talking about. So when you spoke about gestures, you gave great gestures. When you did 1 point, 1 person, 1 time, you really, really zeroed in on it. That was good. The suggestion I have for you is to give each person not only something to improve, but also some praise. The Oreo cookie is nice for everybody, and I felt like the cookie sort of got taken apart. We didn't get the whole thing. Then, Rhonda, very nice job. I particularly liked that Rhonda began her evaluation with some genuine praise. She enjoyed the talk. She expressed that at the beginning, made Casey feel good, all of us feel good. I also noticed that she speaks with a great deal of precision. That when she expresses things, they come out so clearly. I guess she's got a clear brain or something. And you mentioned a number of things that Casey did well. I think the one suggestion I have for you is that you do a little bit more of demonstrating what you are speaking of. The thing that I underlined was just that you praised him for coming out front, but you did that from behind the lectern. It's kind of hard to evaluate when you've got notes to come out here and do it, but, you know, give it a try. But nice job. Then, Cindy. Cindy does a really nice job of praising and giving corrections. It just flows so smoothly. She's got a bag full of Oreo cookies.
And they were delicious.
Yes. I thought she had really good gestures. I noticed flow in particular. She suggested that Ryan use the stage, and she demonstrated it as she gave him that suggestion. The one thing I would suggest for Cindy is that she give us a little more vocal variety. And then Jean. When you said, no, let's see. I really like that Jean started her evaluation by saying, I love to listen to Diane. It's genuine, but that's a great way to start an evaluation. Really express in a heartfelt way what you think about a nice talk, if that's what you heard. I'm not sure if you greeted the audience. I think you did not.
No, I did.
You did?
I did.
We'll review the DVD. Okay, well, what have I got to suggest then? I particularly like how well Jean demonstrated things. She'd be behind the lectern and she'd have a point that she'd want to make, and she'd come out here and she'd do it, and then she'd go back behind the lectern. It was quite entertaining to watch her in her cowboy boots. I think that's it. I believe we're going to turn things back over to our Toastmaster. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to present some well-deserved and wonderful awards tonight. The first award I'm going to give is for the Best Evaluator. And that would be Jean Symington Craig. Congratulations. Next is for the Best Table Topics. Stephen Harper.
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations. And finally, for the Best Speaker tonight. The trophy goes to Mr. State of Delusion.
Is this really happening?
Congratulations. This is going to take you to a new state. Best Speaker, and you also get a ribbon for your icebreaker speech.
Okay.
And I'd also like to invite our other speakers to come up. Casey?
Yeah.
The ribbon for you. And also for Diane Downbaum. You get a special award. Yes. And with that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our president, Will Briggs.
Okay, and before we close here in summary, I'll turn it over to Stephanie, real quick, for the upcoming special meeting, which is, anybody know when it is?
I think it's this
Regional
Saturday.
This Saturday, yes. Yes, the area contest.
Okay, so I'm going to be the chair, so I'm helping organise this. So we decided to start at 9:30. We have 2 judges coming from Burlington and 1 timer coming from Burlington. And we also have a co-chair, chief judge,
Yep.
something from
Yep.
Wellington. But we need 3 more judges.
How long will this, how long will it be?
Okay, we're good. Yeah, we're gonna have,
Very short contest.
yeah, it'll be short.
Short?
Yeah,
Are
we
there any
have,
are there any contestants?
yes,
we
we're gonna
have-
have 2 table topics and 2 international speech.
Two international.
That's it.
That's it?
So how many
Okay,
more
so I
judges do you
need
need?
one more judge.
I want to be.
Oh, John? Okay.
Okay.
It's a good way to learn, actually,
Yeah.
being judge. And
We have time.
we also need an assistant timer. We need some ballot counters.
That'd be good. I can count that. It's good.
Okay, do we need more than one?
Usually we have 2.
Anyone else like to be a ballot
Just-
counter?
Grab somebody.
Yeah,
Assistant timer.
I'll grab somebody off.
Well, just grab somebody.
Okay, so the people who are taking roles such as judging and timing and speaking need to be here on Saturday at 9 a.m. for briefings about their roles.
Anybody who's speaking, basically most.
Is everybody planning to come?
Everybody needs to be
Area
here.
contest.
So please-
Really
please
great
come.
event.
Yes.
And are we bringing refreshments?
Indeed. And handling that is gonna be Rhonda. I'll call Rhonda up here just to come.
Go.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Stephanie.
There are basically 5 categories of things we bring for refreshments. So I'm going to name them off, and then I'm going to ask each category who would like to bring something. So we can do this in an organized manner, and I can get everybody's name. We have drinks, which include juice and tea,
Coffee.
coffee,
I'll bring cheers.
we have crackers and cheese. Would anyone like to bring crackers and cheese?
Can we know the 5 and then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you. Drinks, crackers and cheese. Dip and chips, cookies, and cut veggies. That's 5.
Can I just say
Jean?
something here? Because it's a morning event, you sort of, at least what we've done in the past is also sort of skewed towards morning food. So, you know.
Sure, that's good. I haven't been to a morning event yet. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jean.
yeah, so the crackers and cheese is usually more.
Okay, what's a morning food?
Really big
What do you
cinnamon
usually bring, Jane?
rolls.
Donut.
Cookies, we bring cookies.
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 You know, oatmeal cookies, it's sort of like oatmeal cereal.
Okay, so we cross out cheese and crackers. We add Cheerios, Bert's gonna bring Cheerios and milk.
Some
What
ba-
else would we need to bring?
I'll bring some donut holes.
Donuts.
Holes.
Bowls.
I'll bring the donut.
I'll bring
Okay.
like either a bread, like a cornbread, banana bread, something like
Yeah,
that. I don't
that's
know yet.
Great,
That's good.
that's perfect.
I'll probably bring some fruit.
Yeah.
Fruit, good. Fruit, good. Okay, Catherine?
I'll bring some coffee. Wonderful.
Dig that.
That's all I do.
Good job.
Anybody to bring cookies?
Yeah, Jean and Dan.
Well, Jean's not gonna be.
We only have 6 guests coming.
Are you bringing, is someone bringing regular coffee though for people that bring? I'm just saying, people that come from other places usually are thinking there's caffeine on the premises.
We can
Yeah.
brew coffee here.
People arrive wanting
I'm just
coffee.
saying, you know.
Don't want any.
Okay,
What do you want, regular caffeinated coffee?
yeah. I think there
I
should be
can
something
bring coffee.
for the visitors.
Yeah.
Dan,
Take me,
Okay.
I won't do the banana bread because there's not that many guests coming.
No.
So I'll bring the
Mostly just
I'll bring the
people on
coffee.
staff, so-
Bring the
Coffee
coffee.
swap.
Course.
Coffee and skip the cornbread, is that what you said?
Do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody's kind of going, oh.
Okay, so this is what we've got. Donut holes, 3 kinds of coffee,
Oh, we have 3.
fruit, and cookies and juice.
And Steve said bring a black hole.
Yep.
I'll do a bread. I'll bring
A
some.
bread?
Okay.
Oh,
You know, the
great.
banana,
Oh, thank
cornbread,
you, so
something.
generous. Thank you. All right, very good. I will send an email. How many here like emails? Do you read your Toastmaster emails?
All the time.
All the
Okay,
time.
great. And I would like to remind people, the new people especially, please bring your books, both manuals with you when you come so you can get them so you can get people to write in them what you did well and sign it with the date, because that can only be done the same night as you speak. And
I'm not on
also-
the email list. How do you get on the, I haven't received any emails.
That's, yeah, that's art.
Art got away, but well,
I'm all paid
Yeah.
up through the year.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. The night I joined.
Yep. Yeah.
3-4 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, you should be on there.
Yes, I know he's gone.
So I'd like to turn this back to Will.
Okay.
Thank you, Will.
You want? Okay,
Nobody else has access to the list?
okay, so I'll just briefly go over here with our guest, just your experience, what it was like for you tonight? Good, bad, kind of, sort of, so-so?
Good.
You have to give
No,
us-
that's
give a half hour
fine.
speech
Yeah,
now.
yeah. We encourage you to speak, we don't require it. So you're welcome to come as a guest and observe without speaking. We are a speaking club, so we always encourage.
And ignore the camera.
Don't about the camera. I don't. Okay, with that, please help pick up here for a little bit, and then have a wonderful evening.